This ferocious dragon strikes fear into the heart of any adversary. Its incredible strength and access to powerful attacks can take out almost any foe. The power to rival even a legendary Pokemon. However, it was not always like this. It started with a dream to soar the skies as an aerial apex predator. This is the story of Salamence. Like many of us, Bagon had a dream that seemed out of reach. It seemed unattainable, but that didn't stop this little flightless dragon. In its frustration to fly the sky, even though it wasn't able to, it has and acts on the urge to jump off cliffs and smash its head into the ground. The resulting behavior strengthens Bagon's head, making it stronger than steel. Also, Bagon's neck muscles become stronger and stronger. So that, coupled with its overall strength, it allows it to smash through boulders, smash into Pokemon. Just imagine that. Bagon coming down, smashing into you, crushing you. But that happens rarely, because Bagon tend to be solitary creatures. They don't like interacting with other Pokemon, with humans. They don't even form bonds with Pokemon of their own kind. It keeps to itself. But this constant head bashing and unceasing belief that it can fly, they have a mysterious impact on its cellular structure. So the armored head of Bagon becomes an entire shell of armor as it evolves into Shelgon at level 30. Influenced by this constant head smashing or pure belief that it will fly, Shelgon expends most of its energy preparing for its evolution, just sort of building the energy within this cocoon of armor. It is literally waiting for its biology to change. However, this transformation, this evolution does not come without its drawbacks. The armor itself is very heavy, making Shelgon's maneuverability and movements much more difficult. Shelgon must stay away from bodies of water. That's pretty self-explanatory. If it ever falls in, it's definitely drowning, sinking to the bottom. It's going to have a hard time swimming around. And it also seems as though Shelgon is in a perpetual state of fasting. Very few people see Shelgon eat or drink water, even though it has to. It's building up energy for this evolution, so it has to intake food, but it seems as though all the energy, all the focus is going into this mysterious epic change once it evolves. But because it's so protective of its dream to fly, it's so protective of itself, making sure that it doesn't encounter any type of harm. It is a very territorial Pokemon. It will charge humans if they ever stumble into its territory. It will not risk being damaged, and it will not risk its evolution being interrupted. And that's where this armor comes in very handy. Physical attacks, bing, 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 will bounce just right off of it, like Captain America's shield. It's resistant to flames. Cold even doesn't even damage it, and it's weak to ice-type moves, but the shell protects it. So it'll wait deep in its cave where it lives, all alone, transforming, growing, evolving into the winged apex predator. And the fervent wishes of Bagon are answered at level 50. The journey from flightless dragon with a hard head to being nothing but a shell of a Pokemon, literally, to becoming an absolute legend. It has now become a pseudo-legendary Pokemon of Generation 3 because of its stats having the highest base stat total of any flying Pokemon alongside Dragonite. But overjoyed that its dream of flying has come true, Salamence will actually spend all of its time in the air, flying around, unleashing intense blasts of fire throughout the sky. It'll even cause infernos on surrounding fields, burning them to a crisp, burning mountainsides. and it will only come down from its flight after it has exhausted itself. No more energy, then it'll come down to rest. I like to celebrate with cake, ice cream cake, but I guess burning fields and burning the world around you is a good second alternative. I mean, I don't know. But you might think in its joy that its dream came true, Salamence wouldn't be violent. You know, Salamence would celebrate all the time. But you would be wrong. If angered, Salamence is blinded by fury. It will go on a rampage, completely destroying the world around it. Again, only stopping when it has completely exhausted itself, landing to rest. But I'm curious, why is its celebration and its rampages the exact same? That tells us something about the nature of Salamence. However, Salamence has been observed to live in tough and rugged terrain, and it will engage in battles with Garchomp, having these aerial battles over territory and over prey. Now, if the sheer power and unpredictability of Salamence isn't enough to terrify you, it gets yet another power boost in the form of Mega Evolution. You give it the Salamence sight and it can Mega Evolve. And in this process, its wings meld together, becoming one huge, dangerous weapon. The wings themselves are very hard, but they are flexible. So essentially, Mega Salamence is flying through the sky with a giant scythe as wings that it can use in mid-air combat. And it has the ability to slice through whatever the hell it wants. These changes in its physiology do give it more of an aerodynamic form, so it can really pick up speed and fly through the air incredibly fast. Now, the stress Mega Evolution puts on Salamence's body, the absolute torture, the pain that it goes through in this process of Mega Evolution results in an already violent Pokemon becoming even more violent, to the point where it will lose control. So much so that it will turn against the trainer that raised it ever since it was a tiny Bagon. Whatever gets in its way becomes sliced into pieces. So due to this brutal nature, Mega Salamence is known as the Blood-Soaked Crescent, and that is awesome, but terrifying too. Blood-Soaked Crescent? Whew. Now, as for the overall inspiration of Salamence, there are several elements that it's pulling from here. European dragons are seen fairly commonly in the appearance of Salamence, but it also might pull inspiration from the movie Reign of Fire, which came out in 2002. I believe that's the same year that Salamence got released. Now, I know, the creators of Pokemon work on it for a long time, but that's not to say that it didn't pull inspiration, at least a little bit, from Reign of Fire. There are some similarities physiologically from the dragons of that movie to Salamence. It also might be based on the salamander, right? The little lizard, and more specifically, I believe it's Hida salamander, or Anderson's salamander. And of course, this is going to be backed up by Salamence's features, right? It has some finlets, it has some external gills, it seems like external gills, and it can also pull inspiration from the mythological animal salamander. Yes, there is a mythology to the salamander. Now, it's said that salamanders, the mythological creature, has the ability to both create and put out flames, and in some cases that it's even born from flames, and they're considered fire spirits. Other stories might just say that they're resistant to fire. In fairy legends, salamanders are credited for teaching humans how to make fire, which is pretty cool. And there's even stories of their origins stating that they were created in furnaces of glass blowers who kept their furnaces stoked for days and days and days on end. And they were often described as, small lizards, as we kind of see typical of salamanders in present day. But yeah, small lizards with glowing lights, and on rare occasions, they even have more fairy-like humanoid features. Now, the origin of like this salamander is mainly based on real life salamanders, and they're known obviously to hibernate in logs. So during the winter they will hibernate, and when campers will try to start a fire, they'll take these logs and fuel their fire, and the fire's going, and then the salamanders know this, and they kind of wake up, and then they run out of the logs. But due to the cool and damp skin that the salamanders have, they're able to survive the fire. But that resulted in this misunderstanding that salamanders were entities of fire themselves. So that's actually really cool. Now, the name Salamence is a combination of salamander, menace, vengeance, vehemence, violence, and immense. The Japanese name, Bowmander, is a combination of bow, which means violent, and then salamander. But I want to know your thoughts on Salamence. So obviously the design is pretty cool. It's kind of more of like your typical dragon, right? And I understand the overall principle and sort of inspiration for Salamence, because it starts with Bagon's dream, right? Bagon can't fly, obviously, but it had a strong desire to fly, and in that desire, it was able to change its cellular structure to fly. Or was it more of like a mystical process that changed its physiology? But are there ever Bagon that don't want to fly? Do they just not evolve, or what happens to them? And why is it so mystical? Charmander can't fly, neither can Charmeleon, but Charizard can. Was that mystical? Like, what makes Bagon's evolution so special? And why did it lose, like, the bone armor? Bagon has the headpiece, right? Shell here. Shelgon is an actual shell of bone armor. And then we have Salamence, who doesn't have any of that. Is its wings? That they're not made out of bones. I wish they kept that sort of theme. They could have made it fly, but keep the theme of that suit of armor, that bone armor. I thought that would be pretty cool. But it just has me slightly confused, and to be honest, it sort of transforms into your run-of-the-mill standard dragon Pokemon. Salamence is also part of only a handful of Pokemon that can learn an HM move by leveling up, which is Fly when it evolves into Salamence. Very good in competitive, well, pretty decent in competitive battling. Has a good move pool, has really good stats, but it's outclassed by other Pokemon, so it's not overwhelming there. Mega Salamence is in Ubers because that's an absolute monster, but and to be honest, I think Roaring Moon is a better evolution than Salamence itself. I think that has more common characteristics from Bagon to Salamence than the actual Salamence we have. But let me know your thoughts down below. What are your thoughts on Salamence? Do you like it? Did you like the video? Did you learn anything new? I'd love to know and interact with you down in the comments. So make sure you do that. If you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. Also, hit that like button, as it does mean a lot. And I want to thank you all for all the time and support you give to the channel. It really does mean a lot, and we appreciate it so much. Check out some of our other lore and Pokemon opening videos, and I'll catch you in the next episode. Peace.